Health, Home, and Lifestyle. Presented by Paradise Fitness Center, changing lives since 1996.
There are very, very positive things happening in the central part of the island to promote Guam's unique language and culture. Senor Peter Onedera is a dear friend of ours, and he is in studio. And Senor, it has been way too long. Welcome back.
Jesus Masi for that. Yeah, it's good to be back. I've been back on Guam now for nearly a year, and I've been keeping pretty busy pretty much.
Yeah, well, this project is probably maybe the capstone, I would say. I mean, you're doing a million different things as always and everything like that, but Escuelang Finohadza, tell us all about that project, and specifically it's in Sinajana. Why Sinajana?
It's at the Sinajana Community Center, and I began this last fall in August, to be exact. I had approached the mayor of Sinajana and the vice mayor, asking for the opportunity to be able to teach the Chamorro language to people from the village who may be interested, and sure enough, they gave me their encouragement and support. So among the three of us, myself and the two leaders of the village and so forth, we kind of thought about the idea that this would be a pilot program for the teaching of the Chamorro language in all the villages and so forth. So we decided that we'll start in our own village, where I'm from, of course. And it has been quite a challenge, but also pretty successful as I finished off the full semester, so to speak, teaching the language at the Sinajana Community Center.
So kind of like a little home court advantage for Sinajana, since you're from there, and very proudly so?
Yeah, but of course, I'm also available to whoever may want to ask me to or invite me to come to their villages to start the program at least and so forth. And I hope that this is the impetus for many of the retirees who have taught Chamorro language in the school system to possibly pursue the teaching of the Chamorro in their villages where they're from.
Now, there's something interesting I'd like to ask Peter, because we've interviewed many people all over the years who project Chamorro values and the Chamorro language, you know, and there's a lot of people, like you may get people who move here from the military and they want to learn about their new home. You get people who used to live here and then come back and everything. You get people who aren't necessarily indigenous Chamorro but want to learn about the language so that they can communicate. What are some of the unique challenges of actually teaching the Chamorro language to Chamorro people who didn't already speak it? Because we can identify with, you know, words and objects and places and things in history and everything like that, but to articulate that through language.
Well, let me just share with you that the name of the school that I started in Sinajana is Escuelang Finohadza, and actually it's a school that I also began in San Diego when I was living there. So
big Chamorro community there.
Yes, the Chamorro community there. I was invited by the president of the Sons and Daughters of Guam Club of San Diego to open up a school and offer the teaching of the Chamorro language. And quite interestingly, from surrounding cities all over San Diego, I was able to start the school there. And I had quite an overwhelming response of many people from the outlying cities and so forth. And quite interestingly, I had over 50 students the very first time I began the class at the clubhouse in San Diego and so forth. And I was amazed at the fact that many of those who used to live in Guam and even in Saipan and Rota and Tinian, they decided to take the opportunity and take the Escuelang Finohadza classes that I offered. And, you know, it worked out quite well. So since my return back to Guam, I decided that maybe this is an opportune time to bring this concept and this curriculum of the teaching of the language to the village of Sinajana. So this is still pretty much a pilot project. The vice mayor and the mayor and I termed this a pilot project so that it can start from the village level and who knows, expand to the other villages like I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have been an educator in various capacities for many years, and we greatly admire that. I myself am the son of two educators, lifelong teachers. What educational model are you using to teach Chamorro? Because some people would say, you know, the immersion technique was very popular for a number of years. Other people say, you know, start with the basics, numbers, letters, alphabet, then you get into verb conjugation, sentence structure, the typical like format and everything like that. But what do you find is the most effective way to actually teach conversational Chamorro?
Well, there is a method that I learned early on, and that's the TPR, the total physical response, and teaching the language in that aspect of showing and teaching and drilling, continual drilling in the lessons being learned and so forth. But actually seeing and touching and getting a sense of the language at hand by seeing, for example, this bookcase here and so forth with books. And, you know, this kind of stuff, when they see, a student sees this and says, "Lep blue," you know, and then, of course, we count how many volumes there are in the bookcase or something like that. So they get a sense of relating to what they see by actually touching it and seeing for themselves. So that's one aspect. And of course, there's a conversational aspect too that that I touch upon and so forth. And sometimes in a classroom situation, you need to kind of measure out how or what best of an approach to offer to the students. So there's a lot of repetitive responses. There's a lot of seeing, visual arts. I mean, visual aspects. And oral drills and so forth. And I also use WhatsApp a great deal by repeating many of the lessons that I covered and sending it to them in WhatsApp, and so they get to listen to it all the time. So there's many different aspects, and sometimes I take the students out of the classroom and take them around the yard and point out the tsagwen and tronco and hagon and those kind of stuff. So actually seeing and doing all these things, plus you get to innovate and create as you go along.
Practical
and so that it becomes appealing. Yes, and there's practical application. This way they don't get bored and, you know, where they're forced to just sit there and listen to me continually repeating whatever that they have no idea what it is about and so forth.
Okay,
so.
a final question before we end the show. Since you have taught in the mainland Chamorro and then now on Guam,
right.
For a number of years there was always like this big debate, you know, are you teaching street Chamorro proper, or are you like the Antigua style that the Manamco would speak and appreciate, or are you teaching what's called, you know, kind of unfairly like university Chamorro?
No,
and very